and for generalization. For example, if the student is increasing his seat behavior in math class, will it generalize to language arts class? If the behavior works with teacher A, does it also, if the behavior is the level with teacher A, is it also at that same level with teacher A? So I want to generalize across settings or across teachers or across students even. And lastly, I want to make sure that I do social validity. I want to have some sort of survey, some Likert scale, 5-point, 3-point survey to ask the student, ask possibly the teacher, maybe even ask the parent, did they find the intervention effective? Did they find the results effective as well, or the results appropriate? One example I want to talk about is a study that we did with a 7-year-old student who had Down syndrome. Was moderate to severe developmental disabilities, and the question was, the student engaged in high rates of non-compliance to teacher demands. The teacher identified a high probability command sequence as a possible intervention strategy to be used. So the research question here was, what's the effects of a high probability command sequence on compliance to low probability commands? The first step she wanted to do was, 1, define the intervention, and 2, define the behavior. In this case, she had a series of commands that occurred in the classroom. She would ask these commands to the student as they would naturally occur during the school day. And this was either a morning or an afternoon session where the child was present at the school. She would ask questions like, come here, sit down, touch your nose, close the door, jump up. What she found in asking these questions, what she determined in asking these questions, is some of these questions resulted in very low compliance, and some resulted in high compliance or a high level of compliance. What we decided to do then was differentiate between the low probability commands and the high probability commands. The low probability commands, things like come here and sit down and go to your desk, became our dependent measure. Those are the behaviors that we were going to count during baseline to note the level of compliance. The high probability or high P commands, things like clap your hands, touch your toes, raise your hands, jump up, touch your belly, those things that were complied to quite often, that became the intervention. So baseline, we were going to just assess compliance to those low P commands. Intervention was going to be preceding every low P command with a series of high P commands and note compliance to low P commands. What she did prior to